A very good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Monday Motivation with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. We do this live on TikTok between 3:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. every single Monday. And if you miss any of our topics, you can go check out Influencer SA on YouTube and IGTV. Eugene Wood, what are we speaking about today?
Well, today's topic is all about controlling anger and patience. So, and these two are very closely linked together. So, it's quite an interesting topic.
Anger and patience, and we ask you to be patient with us because we'll be right back straight after this. Welcome back, everybody, to Monday Motivation with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. Today's topic is anger and patience, dealing with anger and patience. Now, Eugene, before we get into it, let us define anger and patience. And I'll start off with the definition which I have found through the research. And one of the things that really stuck out for me is that anger is a level of annoyance or displeasure or hostility that you have and you react to, whether it be from an emotional point of view, a physical point of view. But also, there are three different kinds of anger. And one of them is disguised as passive aggression. The other is open aggression. And then the other one, which I think is pretty good for yourself in sometimes, is assertive anger. Now, when we're looking at anger, there's patience, which is very closely linked to this, because when you become impatient, you might become angry. So when you look at the definition for patience, it's about when you accept. Notice how I calm down. You accept and tolerate without becoming angry, annoyed, or anxious, or losing your temper or irritation. And before you say anything, Eugene, I just want to say something which I found really, really cool. Anger can sometimes lead to where somebody wants to wish to harm or hurt somebody. Whereas patience is about holding back from harm or hurting. And I'm going to give an example very quickly. I used to have a very, very short temper. I used to get angry like this, lack of patience, all those things. The guy you see these days is not the guy back in the day. And sometimes you will need a trigger that will make you realize you have got that anger. And we will speak about dealing with anger later. The day I realized I need to acknowledge my anger and temper problems and have more patience is the day I nearly strangled my brother to death.
Oh,
I
wow.
nearly strangled my brother to death. What do you have to say about anger and patience?
I am quite glad I haven't nearly strangled someone to death. But if that was your moment to realize, hang on, then at least it didn't go further. So well done on that. Um, yeah, I can relate to having a lot of anger. I think a lot of us have a lot of anger when we're young. We want things straight away. You know what I mean? So that's where we lack so much patience. I do find like we talk about like awakening and finally being in touch with yourself. And I do find when you do that, you do find your tolerance for a lot of things increases, which means your patience for a lot of simple things also like you've just got that patience where I remember when I was 18, 19, 20, there was no patience. There was like, why you late? Why you late? Like, and I'm
Yes,
always
yes.
early. So that's what made it even worse is I'm always early. So when you're late, you're late. So, but yeah, how they are so tight, they are so closely linked, anger and patience, because we are just because of the anger levels we can show is 90% of the time it's just due to not having patience at all, really.
Exactly,
Why else you get
exactly.
angry? If it's in work, if it's in business, you want that promotion, you didn't get that promotion, you get angry. in love, you want that relationship, you don't get that relationship, you get angry. You know what I mean? Like, it's we expect as humans a certain degree of like time. You know what I mean? Like, I want this now, but taking that step back and realizing you need to take that step back to evaluate what's truly important and not get angry
Yes,
about everything. This is key to everything, really.
yes. So on that note, I mean, I love the examples which you've given there, and I found a quote, a very very nice quote, which I want to share with everybody right now, and it really comes down to this: a moment of patience in anger prevents moments of regret.
Hmm.
And I'm going to come back to that example of when I said I strangled my brother. By the way, it wasn't an intentional strangle. There's a thing that happens on Fridays in school level called Friday is tie day. And I was getting impatient because I didn't do a tie day to anybody. Friday is tie day is when you slide the tie up somebody. My brother just happened to be there, and I ran out of patience, and I grabbed him and I slid the tie up to the point where we couldn't cut it loose. If
Hating.
I had been patient and found somebody else at school or somebody else with a looser tie or something, the anger levels of me not being part of Friday's tie day would never have gotten to that point.
Hmm.
COVID right now have led, as a crappy circumstance as it is, has led a lot of people to become impatient. And they're not only getting angry with other people, but they're getting angry with themselves, which is making them doing and making silly decisions, stupid decisions that they wouldn't have made other ways if they were just a little bit more patient, not just with themselves, with the world as well. Another study that did identify that due to instant gratification on social media, people have a shortened attention span and people have a shortened level of patience. So, because you're so used to getting those likes, those follows, those people interacting immediately on your posts, whatever platform it may be, when you're not getting that from your real life, you become impatient and you sometimes push the real life away and start living that instant gratification life. And you know me, I speak about this a lot because I've been there. I was there six,
Hmm.
7 years ago. I can identify it. People need to become more aware and identify the effects of things like social media on instant gratification and your level of patience. I've written here, it has shattered the level of patience people have because we are used to getting that instant satisfaction. Relationships, when I speak about love, people don't work on love relationships anymore. That something doesn't work out, they end the relationship and they move on to the next best thing. What is that? That is instant gratification. People don't work on the business contracts. You get a bad business contract, a bad business deal. They don't sit down and talk about it in a boardroom. They move on to the next person instead of going, right, is there a way we can negotiate? Is there a way we can work out on this? When it comes to your normal
Definitely.
life, if you're not getting through traffic in 5 minutes, you want to get there now. You get impatient. A very,
I
very
think we can
big
all
thing is
relate to that.
we can all relate to those things. It takes a certain person and a certain level of consciousness to get to a point where you are able to go, right, I'm actually just being very impatient now. And that is where we are going to go to our next section of our chat today and speak about 6 ways to deal with anger and patience. And Maria gives a very good example. It's a small example, but a very good example. And it happens a lot. When you go to a restaurant or a takeaway and you got no patience when you're waiting to order your food, you order your food. I've ordered my food 10 minutes ago. Why is this taking so long? Would that have happened 15 years ago when they speeded up the process to make food?
Hmm.
Take dial up connections from back in the day. How patient were we waiting for dial up connections? Now, if
Sure.
the Wi Fi is not fast or the Wi Fi connection is bad, we lose patience. We get angry. Are we getting angry with ourselves or are we getting angry with the situation?
I think we're getting angry because, as you say, that instant gratification. Like, things are moving and we're adapting so much quicker to technology even just moving at a quicker pace. So you might not even be getting angry with someone, but you might be getting angry with how fast technology is. I know my parents are like, smartphone? Do we really have to? Like, it was like it, but my dad would get angry. He's like, oh no, the phone's in the safe. It can stay there for like, no, you're gonna have to learn. Eventually, you're still young enough to have a phone for the good next, I don't know how many years, but you're gonna have to learn instead of getting angry, instead of like, oh no, it doesn't work, delete this, delete that, and learning. But yeah,
Exactly.
patience and anger, and as you say, we're gonna just go through 6 ways of dealing and controlling anger and patience now.
Yeah. So before we start these 6 ways, I just want to say that we are all guilty of this. We are all having a human experience. So sometimes you will react to being impatient. You might react in anger. You might react in sadness. The different reactions are what you need to become aware of. You need to just calm down and realize, okay, this is happening right now. So let's speak about 6 ways to deal with anger and also then involve some patience. Point number one, I'm going to do because I really, 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 really emphasize this because I have to do this myself. I'm not the perfect person. Nobody is. Take a time out. Taking a time out, doing some deep breathing, and not just because that's not deep breathing. That is hyperventilating. That's not deep breathing. Deep breathing is going, okay, this is happening right now. Let me just acknowledge what's just happened instead of reacting. I did
Mm.
this last week. I reacted too quickly instead of just calming down and going, all right, this is what happened. Let me unpack this. Let me deal with this. Again, it comes down to dealing, healing, becoming aware of what is going on. Diaphragm breathing is so important. And I did a live about this. I taught people how to breathe, something which we do naturally. I never thought I'd see the day I have to deal with people learning, teaching them how to breathe, diaphragm breathing, taking a deep inside to understand and acknowledge it. Acknowledge the breath. So, step number one, take a time out, acknowledge, deal, breathe.
Step number 2 is think before you speak. This is quite self-explanatory, but sometimes we quick to lash out. Rather, try and compose yourself a little bit before you go and say something that you might land up regretting. Point number 3 is see different perspectives. And now this one, yeah, is a very important one because we are all going to have our own perspective on certain situations, regardless of where we are. Like we are, no one's going to see the same picture at the same time. So knowing that, like they say, it's their side, and then the truth, because there's always parts of how this person perceived what was going on, how this person perceived, getting it all muddled up in the middle, getting angry over it because we lack patience or whatever the case might be, instead of just taking that step back and realizing, hey, let's see it from their side and try and work through it.
Yeah, no, absolutely, absolutely. So that's point number three, see different perspectives. Point number four, positive self talk. I can do this. I can do this. I am okay. I will be able to get through this. I'm going to be okay. Just breathe. I'm okay. Positive self talk. Point number five, use humor to release tension. Now, before I give an example of this, I just want to really, really emphasize using humor is not a deflection. So, South Africans, we do this very well. We make a joke out of something that's really, really serious. So, it's not, using humor is great, but it doesn't mean you mustn't deal with the situation. It doesn't mean you mustn't embrace what is happening. It just means that a lighter energy, a lighter vibration can really help get through the anger that you may have or the lack of impatience. So maybe watch a comedy or go and watch a cartoon because those things give escape from reality. Sometimes you need to just escape the reality, come back and reflect at a later time. Again, coming back to what we said earlier with the instant gratification, sometimes you want to deal with things immediately. And I'm very guilty of this. Deal with this immediately, where sometimes you actually just need to take a pause, take that pause, use the humor to release the tension. That's point number 5.
Definitely. Point number 6, identify solutions. Do you want to tell people about identifying solutions, Sunil?
You know, when you are in a situation when you've got no patience and you've got this anger, you need to find ways for yourself to deal with it. There is ways people can help you. You can go and seek counseling or seek spiritual advice on how to deal with the lack of patience or anger. Simple things like taking the breaths or acknowledging what's happening at that time. Why are you becoming impatient about what Eugene has done in the meeting? Why are you getting angry at this? Is this actually a trigger which is shining light on something that needs to be healed? Find the solutions, because if you don't find the solutions, you are going to remain angry. You're going to remain impatient. And when that happens again, it's going to be a repeat cycle. This is what happened to me when I was in my teens, a repeat cycle over and over and over until I dealt with it and going, hang on, I actually have a very bad temper. Let me deal with this. What is the solution for this? Spending more time with the brother, going for counseling, doing all these things, meditating, reflecting on why all these things are happening. Lots of solutions exist. We are living in a society where we're expecting an instant solution. It's not always an instant solution, people. You need to sometimes look within the self before we're looking out there for a solution. So, those are the 6 ways to deal with anger and patience and also acknowledge them. So, let's go through those again. Point number 1, take a time out.
Point number 2, think before you speak. Point number, there was 2. Point number 3, see different perspectives.
Point number 4, positive self talk. Point number 5, use humor to release tension.
Point number 6, identify solutions. Now, I just want to also, Sunil spoke a lot about like from a like people perspective. Now, from a business perspective, finding solutions is hella important. Like, there's always going to be some sort of problem. And when a problem arises, you're going to get angry because you're going to be like, okay, I need to fix this. I need to fix this. Instead of worrying about fixing this, just actually hang on. I need to find the solutions to these problems and work on those, because it's going to be a problem until you actually find that solution. So identifying solutions, like before I started the rope access business, we spent almost a year, okay, identifying potential solutions to imaginary problems. We didn't even have those problems because we didn't own the business, but we went and found solutions to so many problems that I think the first 18 months of us being in business, we didn't have any hiccups at all, because I think when a problem had arisen, we had already knew the solution, which we had already put over the problem before it even was an actual problem. You know what I mean? So identifying those solutions is key, because that's going to help you from getting angry. And
Yes.
it just comes with patience, like working on yourself and just realizing that if I get angry, I'm not going to actually accomplish the things that I need to accomplish.
Yes. And again, when Eugene speaks about anger, it's not always anger towards anybody else, but sometimes you get angry with yourself. And that is a very important thing. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back straight after this with the conclusion. Sunny Motive, written by Sunil Osman, uses and explains motivational quotes to encourage readers of all ages to take bold steps in life, love, and business. Order your copy now by emailing Lauren Moy Publishing on sales@laurenmoypublishing.com. Also available on takealot.com and amazon.com. Welcome back, everybody, to Monday Motivation with Eugene Wood and myself, Sunil Osman. You've come to the conclusion of today's chat. It is dealing with anger and patience. And to conclude, I just want to say one thing that I said earlier. This is going to be my conclusion. A moment of patience in anger prevents moments of regret. That is literally perfect.
So all I'm going to do as a conclusion is just say, think before you speak, see different perspectives, take a time out, self-positive talk. This one's important, guys. Like, I can do this. I'm going to do this. Reinforcing that positive mindset is important. Use humor, use humor, and identify solutions. In conclusion, if you can take these 6 points and find ways on how you can take that anger down, whether that's with other people, whether that's with yourself, to actually just bring that level of anger down with self-awareness, you're going to find that your patience is going to increase so much more, and you're going to let so much more stuff just slide because it's just not worth it anymore. So that's my conclusion.
Awesome, awesome conclusion. I fully agree with Eugene over there. As you know, we do this live on TikTok every Monday between 3:30 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. Once a month, we also do a Q&A where you can come in and talk about anything you want to speak about. And we've got good news because that is going to be next week. So send us the messages. Join us and let us know what you'd like us to speak about on Monday Motivation. Love and light, everybody. Thank you for being here.
Have a good one, guys.